And we're back at ABCNews.com's Top Line with Kevin Madden, Republican strategist. And Kevin, I want to start with Dick Cheney and the really extraordinary response that he had yesterday to the latest. You're seeing him once again kind of lead the charge of opposition to the Obama administration. It's fascinating.
Yeah, you know what's amazing, too, is the confidence that he has when he makes these arguments. I mean, he knows this substance. He's offering a comprehensive critique of the president. And I think he's really does understand that there's probably nobody out there like him with a resume on these issues, but who can go toe-to-toe with the administration because he's been there. I think whether they're senators or governors or former presidential candidates, they just don't have the stature yet to argue with the administration on this. And I think that's what's most telling about the vice president's critique.
Let me do what I like to do with you and ask you to throw on your Obama strategist hat. But should the White House respond to Dick Cheney? Is this something that they should push back on, or does that cause them further problems and kind of let him hang out there and just have surrogates?
Well, again, I think with the larger swath of the American electorate that's going to decide whether or not this is a good or bad thing, meaning that the more critical element of the base, which is the middle there, I think it does not help the White House to go out there and get into a head-to-head fight with a former vice president on these issues, because then it looks like they're trying to relitigate the past of the Bush administration, the past policies of the Bush administration. It is, and I think that the big problem with that is that they keep saying that in one instance that they're moving on. The biggest problem with this is that this is going to alienate the middle of the American electorate that does want to move on. Whether they're unhappy or happy with torture policy is a separate issue, but this is going to again look like we're looking back, and that's a big problem.
White House signal this week, we don't want to make any news, they said very explicitly over the weekend. But here, 2 days into President Obama's vacation, he's, hey, well, let's re-up the Fed.
We're not going to make any news unless we make news.
Unless we make news, or unless they have other news that they don't want to dominate. Right. In this case, it's a $9 trillion deficit over a 10-year period, up another $2 trillion from the previous estimates, and instead they've got this little tidbit to roll out.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist on this. I do think that the reason that they're making news on Bernanke is they wanted to put to rest a lot of the rumors, and I think a lot of folks on Wall Street were wondering what was going to happen, and this helped provide.
They could have done it last week. They could do it next week.
I really, I'm not a conspiracy theorist on this one. I think that it probably helps them that for 2 days now they haven't been talking primarily about health care. But I also think
that helps them.
Right, that helps them. But I also think it is
helps them in general, or helps them with health care?
I think it helps them in general. It's not helping them with health care. No, but look, I think it's also a false assumption to think that the deficit numbers are not going to filter back very easily to the public. Republicans are going to make sure that it does get back to the public. And I've never seen something like this really energize so many Republican activists right now. And quite frankly, I had a friend of mine who works in the polling industry, who was doing focus groups with independents. They have physical, animated reactions when you talk to them about the deficits and the spending, and it's going to be an opportunity for Republicans going forward.
Which is why I think, we hear all the time the president says that this health care plan has to be deficit neutral, but I don't think that's breaking through at all.
Absolutely not. The only thing that is the main thing that's driving voter anxiety right now on health care is the $1 trillion price tag. I've said it time and time again. It's our best talking point as Republicans. There's trillions of dollars worth of health care in here. There's no reform. There's nothing to do to control costs. And costs are the main anxiety that many voters have on health care.
When I ask you about Rudy for governor, the New York papers are reporting that there's an abbreviated timeline and that he's very seriously discussing the potential bid for governor of New York next year. What does that get him? He's already been a credible presidential candidate, and I presume he would be again if he were to try that again. Mm-hmm. He's making millions on the consulting and the speech-making circuit. Why does he need to be governor?
He misses public service. I think you can tell it. That's one of the reasons why he ran for president. I think he realizes he has a unique skill set, a unique executive leadership that's really sorely lacking in New York. He's a New Yorker at heart, and he feels that this is a perfect position for him. And look, anybody could win right now. Yeah. I mean, I joke around. I haven't seen any polls that indicate that I'd be right on this, but I think if Spitzer were to get back into a primary against Patterson, he would win. Okay. He really would. People would forget about it.
And in fact, that's what
Patterson's in that bad a shape.
Right. And in fact, it's what some of the Rudy associates say is that Patterson has just created this abysmal environment around Albany so much that it creates the kind of thing that Giuliani feels like he could come in and fix.
Absolutely. And the economy is in trouble up there. Quite frankly, having worked up in the Albany orbit before, somebody like Rudy Giuliani who could come up there and offer some executive leadership from the executive mansion would be, I think, a welcome by a lot of voters, Republicans, Independents, and Democrats.
Spitzer Giuliani. I want to see the face-off. We heard heard it here first. Kevin Madden, Republican strategist. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Be sure to click us on again tomorrow.
Twitter.com/The Note. Keep that conversation going. And we should all be casual like you and like the Fed chairman.